Hello and welcome to Pulled Up, the podcast where we talk to Coral Springs High School teachers about the films that pull them up so they can come in and pull up the students every single day. I'm your host, Russell Aronson. I'm the Cambridge Schools Support Coordinator and ACE Media Studies teacher at Coral Springs High School. Behind me, behind the cameras, and on the boards, we have Mr. John Place, who runs our esteemed TV production studio here. And our guest for today is Christine Barrette. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for being on the show.
It's a pleasure.
All right. So this is like our fourth episode. So we start off by talking about how you got into teaching and maybe even how you got into chorus. And then we'll talk a little bit about the movie that you selected, which I think is a very interesting film to choose. And then we'll end up with some questions from your students, which I know should be a bit of a blast.
A lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell us how you got into teaching what you teach.
Well, I got into chorus before I got into teaching. I've been taking piano lessons since I was 5. I've always loved music. And in middle school, I landed in band. I loved every minute of it. I played the clarinet and the bass clarinet.
Wow.
And there was an issue with scheduling with our guidance counselors in high school, and I was mistakenly placed in an advanced women's chorus with all seniors.
Wow.
And my poor choral director was like, you have to be moved into the freshman class. There's no way, you can't stay here. And I said, sure, no problem. Why not? I'll listen, I'll follow directions. They stood up and they did a warm up. And it was the most angelic thing I had ever heard in my entire life. And when she gave me the course selection sheet, I tore it up every day for about 2 weeks. Until she said, I guess you're here to stay. They're not changing your schedule. I said, I have no clue what's going on. And it was...
There's something to say about not going away. That's impressive.
I refused. I was the only freshman in the class. They called me Freshie for a whole year. And they found out Freshie could read music, and they'd say, Freshie, come sit here. And for a whole year, I just sat there and drank in every bit of what they had to offer. And that choir director, her name's Tina Gill, she's at Cypress Bay now, and she didn't find out about this until August of 2023. She finally found out what happened to the course selection sheets.
They've been gone all that time.
All that time. She had no idea.
That is a fantastic story. That's like what would have happened to me if I would have like stuck to anything in my life. Because I started taking organ lessons when I was 6.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
And this guy who my father knew, and he owned a sub shop on the beach, and he traded subs for my organ lessons.
Yes.
And he would take me to the swap shop to play the organ so he could sell the organ. So I'd be like playing In the Mood on the organ. It's like,
sounds awesome.
but he had to leave town for undisclosed reasons, and then I stopped. And then I went in the middle school band, and I was playing the cornet, the trumpet.
Oh, wow.
And I hated every minute of it, and I never went back. And or maybe it was video games. I don't know.
You know what? Couldn't make a sound. When we had testing at the beginning of band to figure out what can you make a sound on. And they handed me a trumpet mouthpiece, and sir, not a sound, nothing. I turned blue in the face and nothing was produced until finally they said, okay, we're moving on. Take a breath. It's okay.
There are lessons here somewhere.
Definitely.
But still the main one being you would not go away.
No, I would not. I would not. I refused.
I think that's impressive.
I said, there's no way you're getting me out of here.
So you would not go away. Mm-hmm. And then how do we get from there to college? Yeah, and then...
Well, I had always wanted to be a plastic surgeon.
Okay.
I was going to be a doctor. I was going to be a surgeon. I was really excited about it. Took all these extra science classes on Saturdays and over the summer. But somewhere along the way, music kind of took over.
Okay.
And Before I knew it, I was in chorus, I was in dance, I was in piano, I was doing all the things, and I couldn't imagine myself living without it. And I knew how disappointing that would be to some people to say, "Hi, I'd love to be a musician." That is absolutely shocking. So I remember going to an all-state. I made it into all-state my junior and senior years, the 2 years that I auditioned. And I talked to one of the professors there, Judy Powers from FSU, and I asked her. I said, "Hey, listen, I want to be a music major." And I
You're a
d-
Knoll?
huh?
You're a Knoll?
I am not a no.
Oh, okay. All
I
right.
spoke to her because she was the clinician there. She was the guest clinician, and she was phenomenal.
Okay, sorry, I had to go there. I'm a Seminole, so I have
I understand. No, my husband is. I understand.
Oh, okay. You have such good taste.
But he and I
I
fight about it all
didn't
day.
mean to interrupt. I just had to
No,
jump
no,
on
no.
that.
It's okay.
Okay, go ahead.
But she's phenomenal, and she said to me, "If you can imagine yourself doing anything else, go do it."
Wow.
She says, "Go do it. This is going to be difficult. It's beautiful. The highs are high, but the lows are low. And if you can imagine yourself doing anything else, go and do it." So I went to my dad and said, "I want to be a musician. And I'd like to
And?
major in music." And he said, "If you can prove to me that you could pay your bills and you can support yourself, then I'll let you do it. You can major in music." And I didn't find out about music education until I took the SATs and was getting all of this information from different universities and was going through all the majors trying to figure out what kind of music major I wanted to be. And I always loved teaching. I taught Sunday school as a youngster. I loved summer camps. I loved taking care of the younger kids. I had a passion for children, and people in the neighborhood would randomly dump their kids off and say, "Hi, I need to go shopping, and this one is just absolutely like crazy. So let's not break half the jars in Publix and leave the kid with you." And I say, "No problem. I've got him." And so we knew like half the neighborhood's kids, and I had no qualms about it. The second I saw music education, I knew. I was like, "That's it.
It was like peanut butter, chocolate,
Perfect.
tastes great together.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It was meant to be. It was meant to be." And my father just said, "Okay." Because he was a geometry teacher for some time. He just kind of did that little sigh and said, "Oh, well, she wants it. We'll
That
let
sigh
her
that
do it."
all of us teachers make when people we love say they want to be a teacher.
Poor guy. All three daughters, teachers.
Really?
All three.
Oh, man.
Probably his fault.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Something he'll have to reflect on. Yes.
Oh my goodness. All three teachers.
All three
All
teachers.
three teachers.
Sure. And what do the other ones teach, by the way?
I have one, my youngest sister is an elementary school teacher. She teaches first grade.
Okay.
And my middle sister is an English teacher in middle school now, but she was also in elementary for a long time teaching gifted
Okay.
students in fourth and fifth grade.
Look at
So
that.
we were all into education.
It's in the blood.
Yeah, and music at some point. We were all musicians at some point.
Wow. So then how do we get from there to here?
To Coral Springs High School. It's
Yeah.
so graduated, started off teaching in the private sector. I taught at the Sagemont School for some time, but always knew that I wanted to be a public school educator because that's what inspired me. You know, I literally looked at Tina Gill and said, "I want to be Tina." That she inspired me. It was so beautiful. She got to see the best of us every day. She got to see the best of us. She got to see us when we were full of passion. She got to see all of the excitement. She got to see us work hard towards something, and she got to help build our work ethic. And I
Okay.
thought so much of that was just so beautiful. And I just wanted to be the next Tina Gill. I knew I wanted to be in the public school sector, and I wanted to do for other people what she had done for me. So eventually I worked my way into the public school sector, but I started off in an elementary school at Coral Park Elementary around the corner.
Okay.
Yeah, so there are a lot of students that I currently teach. I actually taught them in elementary first. So they got here and they saw me and they were like, "Mrs. Barrett, is that you?" I went from teaching middle and high school at Sagemont and ended up at Coral Park after maternity leave.
Okay.
And I was there for 2 years, absolutely loved them, did not want to leave. I was very comfortable. They were adorable. And like I said before, loved the kids, especially kindergarten. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
What about kindergarten did you like so much?
They're lost. and it's adorable.
You know,
Lost, genuine. It's so cute. It's just so precious. My first day, we had a fire drill,
okay.
and I thought that I was winning. I lined them up, and I was like, "This is a success," and let's
Yeah.
walk out. And halfway down the block, I turned around and they were gone. They were chasing butterflies in the field. It was the first day of school, and so many of them had never been to school before.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, so
Chasing butterflies in the field.
butterflies. And I had to get a rope because next time they all held onto the rope. And if you're all holding onto the rope, I can feel when it's not, I can feel when there's less
Yeah.
pressure. So I learned a lot. They were so beautiful, and they just had no clue what they did was wrong. And they were like, but why can't we chase butterflies? We're outside. It was beautiful. It
That
really
is-
was.
The story is here. This is why she's here, folks. That's fantastic. I was going to say, they're all lost. That's like what my career teaching seniors has been like. I feel like they kind of regress back to that moment. And it's like, oh no, what next? And
Butterflies.
butterflies.
It's butterflies.
Butterfly.
Colorful, pretty, much more fun than walking in line.
I can't argue with that.
Yes.
That's fantastic. So then get us to where you're at now. So tell everybody what you're teaching here and how you're involved with chorus now.
So I am currently teaching choir. I teach choir, piano, and world music. I teach our top choir, chamber singers. I also teach a choir that we call Belle Chanson because we give pretty names to all of our choirs. That is our advanced women's chorus. I have a beginning treble chorus called Canta Prima.
Canta prima.
Canta Prima. And I teach a couple piano courses because I was a piano minor in college and it's something I love to do.
Okay.
So I was a voice major, piano minor in education, and I love them. Of all those groups, my piano kids are the neediest. They were like, you must sit next to me and you must guide me through
Okay.
the entire class.
It's the butterflies all over again, isn't
All
it?
over again. All over again. They're so endearing. They're just, it's wonderful walking into that room and watching them grow. So I'm trying to build that program to the point where they are competitive because it's something that I've done before in the private school sector. I was able to build a pretty big piano program back at Sagemont, and we were competitive on the district and state level, and the kids did phenomenally, came back with superior ratings all the time. So I wanted to go ahead and replicate that here and give them that opportunity because not everybody has the ability to commit all the time necessary for chorus.
Sure.
Sometimes piano is their musical outlet because they can work as an individual and do things on their own schedule. And I find that if that's what they can do and that's what they want to do, then I'm here to make it happen.
I can understand that because some of my, although I kid about it, some of my fondest memories were of childhood was that time on the organ because you're playing and you're figuring out and hours go by.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And yeah, that's definitely it. So that kind of, I'm going to tangent here a little bit. So one of the things when we teach things that we're passionate about, and I asked Ms. Dare about this as well. So when you get time to yourself,
Yes.
are you more likely to do the singing or the piano?
I do them both together.
You do them both together.
Yes.
Why choose?
Why choose?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Why choose? I could do both. I'm more likely to do the piano, but most of the time it's both.
All right. That's very cool. So this year, all I've seen are rave reviews of stuff your students have been doing.
Oh, wow. Awesome.
So can we just go over that? And that's where we'll end this before we get back to the students at the end with the questions. So tell me,
Absolutely.
what have your students done with chorus and piano this year? Choir and piano.
So, our choir students have been doing a phenomenal job of rebuilding the program post-pandemic. When you haven't sung for 2 years and your freshmen do not have seniors to model off of, you know what I mean? It's a really tough job rebuilding, and these kids came in eager to perform again
Yeah.
and to get back to what we used to do. And we have been doing that from day one. And one of the things that we do in August is we prepare for
August.
competitions in August.
Yeah.
So by September, they're doing their all-state competitions, and they're going up against thousands of other kids within the state of Florida for a few hundred spots in an all-state choir. And we got 10 kids in this year. And it feels great. We don't brag about it a lot, but we have the most kids in any Broward County public school in all state for 2 years running now. And it's partially just thanks to their dedication and their willingness to learn and have that phenomenal work ethic, go back, practice, do what you need to do so that you can be where you want to be. And that is now resulting in many universities looking at these students and offering them scholarships. We were able to bring one of those universities here this past month. We brought in an HBCU, Claflin University, because they met our kids at Allstate and they were like, hi, can we have some of those bases? That'd be lovely.
Oh, okay.
So we were able to bring some people in to offer our kids some scholarships.
That is just amazing in that short span of time, because I know all of us who are teaching, we've had to deal with that, how do you rebuild stuff, and especially programs like yours that rely so heavily on the experienced students helping the younger students, the new students. So the fact that you've pulled off that much, that's amazing stuff.
It's a lot. It's a lot. You just got to find what they love and start there.
And I think you've given me the perfect transition then to the second part of our show, where we're going to talk about the film you've chosen, Music of the Heart.
Yes.
And I had not seen this because I was like, I don't know. Is this one of those like, oh yeah, inspirational film? And sometimes because I'm a film geek, I have a prejudice against inspirational films. I'm like, no, give me a film that makes people cry and, hate the world and stuff. But then, I watched this and I was like, not only do I appreciate this film, I think I get you a little bit more. And we're going to talk about that when we come back. And we're back with Ms. Barrett, and we are going to move into the segment where we talked about the films that pull our teachers up, and you chose Music of the Heart.
I did.
And as always, film geek that I am, I had to do my deep dive, do my research. So this is a 1999 film directed by Wes Craven. What does that mean to you?
That means I was in 9th grade.
That means you were in 9th grade. Okay.
That's what
And
it means to me.
okay, do you know Wes Craven?
No, I'm not familiar with Wes Craven.
I bet that I'm going to name some films and you've probably heard of them.
Probably.
Because this film is so different from this guy's complete filmography.
Yeah.
You've heard of the film Scream?
Oh, wow.
So he directed Scream and Scream 2 and Scream 3. As a matter of fact, he was making Scream 3 while he made this film.
Oh, wow.
Which is why Scream 3 sucks, because clearly this is where he was at. All right. You may have heard of a little film called Nightmare on Elm Street.
Oh, wow.
That's him. So these are the films. He also made, by the way, a film called Red Eye, starring Cillian Murphy. You have to check that out if you haven't seen it. It's an underrated gem, and since Oppenheimer, Cillian Murphy, you got to check out Red Eye. And one of the strangest horror films I've ever seen, but a great film about race, low-key, The People Under the Stairs, which everybody's got to check out because it's a messed up film. It's R-rated, kids, so, do what you're going to do. But so Wes Craven, his whole career making really disturbing horror films,
Yes.
except this film.
Except this one.
And this is what he was always trying to do, but no one would let him do it.
Got it.
And after he had made a couple screams, they're like, okay, we'll give you one. You can make whatever you want. And this is the film he chose, right? So, so when I watch this, I'm like, how is this Wes Craven? But actually, as I started watching it, I kind of, because I'm a horror film junkie, I was like, I think I get it. But we'll get into that. So the cast of this film
Yes.
is also insane.
Yes.
So we've got Meryl.
Yes, I love Meryl.
Meryl being Meryl.
Yes.
And one of the things that was interesting to me is her accent. You know, people always talk about Meryl's accents and how and it sounds so plain, but like the film reviewer Roger Ebert's like, no, this is amazing because that's not Meryl.
No, it's not.
And so that command of the voice and the command of the speech is just unbelievable. But I gotta shout out also Angela Bassett,
Yes.
Gloria Estefan, you know, in addition to doing that In Sync song, which we were talking about beforehand. I was watching the video, and Justin Timberlake's like 8 years old in that movie, but in that video. But also the actual musicians in this film, Itzhak Perlman,
Yes.
Isaac Stern.
Yes.
Whoa. You know?
Yes.
So and the other thing that's amazing is there was already a documentary about her when they made this. So then you're like, well, why would you make this movie? You've already talked about it before. But there's something extra here. So like for you, have you seen the documentary?
I have.
And so how is this different from the documentary to you? What does this add?
You know, sometimes that dramatization is something that pulls in a completely different audience. You
Yeah.
don't have the same audience when you say the word documentary versus movie. When you say movie, people expect entertainment.
Yeah.
And when they expect entertainment, they're more ready to listen. When you say documentary, people are like, I'm going to be educated. And so taking information that would normally be in a documentary and putting it in a movie, and this is just a personal opinion.
Yeah. No, I hope my media studies students are listening to this. It's a good point. You're making a
So
great
the second you say movie, people are more open to listening, and they're not as judgmental. They learn a lot faster when you say movie than when you say documentary. So oftentimes what I do is a few times I've actually taken a break with my students, and not here, but other places I've watched this as a movie and then watched the documentary and compare and contrast, you know, and it's not until
You teach media studies. I'm going to take a
sorry.
break. No, that's perfect. That's what we do.
it's not until they are done watching the movie and that you tell them, hey, this is based on a true story, that their eyes light up and they were like, wait a minute, were they really going to take away that music program? How dare they? They became passionate about it, and it was because they were open enough to sit down and listen without judgment first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's something that I talk about a little bit too with the documentaries. People hear documentary, and so they go, "Oh, so this is the truth, huh?"
Yeah.
And so we tend to be judgmental sometimes,
Absolutely.
right? Because then we're looking for the lies.
Yes.
I don't believe you. You say this is the truth. What are you leaving out, right?
Yes.
But film fiction, it's like, I'm going to tell you a really good lie. And when you say that, then people start looking for the truth.
Yes.
And there's so much truth in this movie.
A lot.
And one of the things that amazes me is how it doesn't over sentimentalize everything, which is so weird because one of the raps that this film got is that it was sentimental. I'm like, this is the exact opposite of this
It's
film.
exactly what happens in real classrooms.
Yes.
And you know what? I can be a little rough around the edges, like Meryl's character at times. You know, remember when she got in trouble for speaking a particular way. I forgot what phrase she used, and a child complained about it. And then when she became the sugar-coated version of herself, the kids were like, "Ew,
Yeah.
ew."
And how many times does that happen to all of us, right? So then, like, you know, you get visitors coming into the classroom, so you go ahead and you put on your metaphorical tuxedo and everything, and then the visitors leave, and the kids are like, really?
Can I be very honest with you?
This is probably a good place for that. No.
It's been years since I've abandoned that tuxedo.
Yeah.
I find that I'm a lot happier being myself unapologetically. So anyone walking into my room doesn't change what I'm going to do in that room.
Oddly enough, I think that is something that as I'm doing all of these podcasts, it's a through line with all of the teachers so far. And I know it's going to be because, doing the research with everybody. These are all very real people. And what you see when,
get.
important people come in, well, the important people are the students who come in every day. So
Yes.
what changes?
Exactly.
So what changes?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, apropos of that, the other thing I was thinking is how often, as a character, she like completely puts her own foot in her mouth. Like when she'll say to a kid, like, "Why didn't you come to practice?" And it's some horror story about what's going on at home.
I am guilty of that question.
And aren't we all?
Asking that. Why
right?
weren't you here?
Yeah. How did you miss that? Why weren't you here? Well, and then you go, "Oh my God, why did I say that? Why didn't I just shut up?" They have lives just like you. They have lives outside of here. But at the same time, no apologies about it because she's pushing them.
Yeah.
And then you see that process where she's learning from it,
Absolutely.
which I think is really cool. And then it's a very teachery film.
Yeah.
And I think teachers get that. And it's not teachery in that Hollywoody, I'm always throwing this film under the bus, and my apologies, but Dangerous Minds-y kind of teachery. When in the early part of my career, that was a popular film, and the teachers were like, "See, it's a popular film." Like, no, the kids like the soundtrack. They don't like the movie. But one of the things I think is neat is you have that big concert moment, right?
Yes.
And most Hollywood films would have been like, okay, everybody's applauding, roll credits.
Yeah.
But it doesn't end there.
Yeah.
So it ends like 10 years later. And what do we see her doing?
The same thing.
The same exact.
Passionately teaching these children and taking them to the next level every single day.
It bookends with just the everyday.
Yeah.
And that impressed me to no end
Yeah.
with this
That's
film.
what we do.
Right?
It's literally what we do. We have those big moments on stage and things are phenomenal. And everything is beautiful and the flowers and the applause. And tomorrow we work towards the next mountain peak.
Yeah.
That's what we do.
You just come back in and say, okay, guys, that was great. Well done.
Yep.
Get back to it.
We don't put our heads down. Well, maybe in June.
Well, yes, that's fair. That's fair. And that's kind of like, that is the moment where I was watching this. I'm like, okay, I get Barrette completely.
Yeah.
Favorite part of the film?
Favorite part of the film? Should have anticipated this question.
It's okay. Well,
I'm sitting here thinking to myself, I think some of my favorite parts of the film, because there are two music teachers at the school, right?
I took a lot of notes about the other music teacher.
Yes,
I can't remember his name, but I took a Roche.
And he did not have very high expectations for these children. So every time there was a little bit of an altercation between Meryl's character and Roche, I was so excited because I am there purposely to teach these kids or show these kids what their potential is and what they could achieve by pairing up that potential with like that work ethic. If you learn how to work hard, hey, this is what you're going to be able to do.
Right.
I see this. This is the raw material you have, and this is we can get from point A to maybe even L, right? If we do,
Maybe even L.
if we do this, and I feel like that's how she thinks. She thinks you're capable of this. The only thing you're missing is that violin. Here you go. I have one. Oh, look.
Yeah, I love that scene. It's like, well, we don't have money for violins. She's like, oh, I've got violins.
I've got violins.
Violins.
Oh my goodness. And to bring in her sons.
Yeah.
Oh my, that sounds like something I would so do.
Oh, yeah?
I really did that during the pandemic. My poor son. I gave him piano lessons. He was 7 and he was bored. And I said, you're going to play the piano. And I started teaching him out of an adult piano book that I was using at the performing arts school that I was teaching. Okay. And They were like, this is so hard. I can't do this. And of course, Benjamin's elementary school let out at 2. So I was just like, Ben, come to mommy. And he walks over and I was just like, I need you to play a song. Which one, mommy?
Oh, no.
I really did. I really did.
And you don't feel bad about it at all.
And I don't. I
And you
really
shouldn't.
don't. And he played it. And they were like, okay, give me 10 minutes, Miss Barrett. And he befriended all the kids in that piano class during the pandemic because he would come in and he would want to practice and he would want to say hi to someone else. And starting with your kids and saying, hey, listen, it's supposed to be difficult to teach your kids how to do anything. They listen to everyone outside, not you. So if I can get him to do this, I really know you, 10 years older, can do it just fine.
I feel that so much because, some people in our profession really took it on the chin during the pandemic. It's like, okay, well, they didn't teach for a year. But I was teaching my butt off and you were, and it's like talking to Dare and listening to what she was doing with pottery when kids had nothing at home. And it's this creativity, and it's just like I'm not going to give up. It doesn't matter what gets thrown at me. I'm not going to give up. And if that means using my children, then I'll
Absolutely. I had the audacity to find old keyboards that were less than perfect in the back. And I got our tech people to do inventory and put a barcode in every single one and have the parents come and check one out for each keyboard student.
Nice.
We did online competitions. I had a lot of fun. I said, nothing about this is stopping. We're still working. Sorry. And it was great because those kids were able to pick up after the pandemic and just kind of pick up where they left off. And some of them went on to fine art schools. A couple of them followed me here. And they did a phenomenal job.
It's that not giving up.
Yeah, don't give up.
That not going away.
No.
I'm sensing a thread. Well, that's great. I think we've covered the movie fairly well, and we're going to try and put in a little music from the film in our transitions, so that'll be pretty good. And I think it's time for some student questions.
Ooh,
so no fair peeking. We'll be back in just a second with student questions. Don't go away.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Oh.
Will you hire her now?
Oh. How long have you boys been playing?
Since I was 3.
And you?
Maybe since I was 3.5.
Your mom must be a pretty good teacher, huh?
She's okay.
Yeah, that's right. You guys wait up there, okay?
Okay, so
Mrs. Demetrius, if you could teach our students to play as well as they do, I'd be thrilled. But
I could. Any child can learn to play the violin.
assuming they had the discipline.
Well, I would teach them to have discipline.
Mrs. Demetrius, a lot of our parents are struggling to feed their kids, to pay the rent. They don't have time to help them learn violin.
Well, they wouldn't have to. They wouldn't have to. I mean, it would be great if they wanted to help, but these kids are going to be committed, you know? They would practice on their own, and they'd help each other in the classroom.
I think I know these students, Miss Demetrius.
Mrs.
Demetrius, and I can tell you right now, their attention span doesn't go past do, re, mi. You know, maybe on a good day I can get them to fa.
I think you're underestimating them. They can learn to play as well as any other kids.
Oh, that I'd like to see.
Well, you will, or you would. if...
I tell you what. I put you down as a sub. For now.
Thank you very much.
But even if it works out, the board may not let me create a permanent position for you.
That's okay. Anything is okay.
Well,
Thank you.
I have already
Oh,
planned
thank
out
you
the
very
whole term, and I can tell you right now there is no room for this. Besides, where are you gonna find money for violins?
Oh, you need violins? I have violins. I have 50 violins. Thank you very much. Nice to meet you, Mr.
Roush.
Roush.
And we're back for our final segment, student questions. Are you ready?
I'm ready. As ready as I can be.
I think these are cool questions. Okay. So our first question is from Sophie Franklin.
Ooh.
Yeah, one of my
Sophie.
media studies students as well.
I love Sophie. Okay.
Sophie Franklin. Who is the coolest, most famous person you've worked/performed with?
See, I know they're asking these questions because oftentimes I'm just like, you know what? We don't want to put those names out there. We're just going to let it go.
Okay. You don't have to answer
A few
that.
cool students. Let's see. When I worked at Sagemont, he was not in my class. I directed musicals. I was musical director for several musicals he was in, but I taught his brothers, which was really fun. It was Carlos Pena. I hate name dropping with a passion.
That's fair.
I really do.
It's showbiz. You're allowed to do it once.
It gives me the ick.
But
But
tell me what the takeaway from the experience was. How about that? Then
what I loved about working with some of those, because actually just about all of the kids that ended up famous in some way, shape, or form came out of that school.
okay.
One of the really big takeaways I got was no dream was too big.
All right.
I had a student that I stalked. I was a middle school theater director as well, and we lost Prince Charming. Right, like
We lost Prince Charming.
we lost Prince Charming.
That's
And
a headline.
I was like, I need a Prince Charming for Into the Woods. I need a second Prince Charming. And I told the kids, I said, have you heard of anyone that can sing like in the locker room? And they were like, oh, we know Sebastian. We can get you Sebastian. And we kind of, coerced this poor child and said, look at all the nice people on our cast. And he was like, oh, okay. And he kind of fell in love with music and singing after this. And this child walked into my room. I learned from him this day. I seriously learned from him. He walked into my room and he said, I love the singing thing. Mind you, this was a soccer kid. We literally were stalking him outside of the locker room after soccer practice. And he goes, I love the singing thing. And I talked to my mom. We're getting voice lessons. And he said, I decided that I want to be a pop star. And in my mind, I'm like, don't discourage him. Don't discourage him. It's really hard, but he might do it. Don't discourage him. And he looks at me and he says, I have a plan. I said, ooh, a plan? I like a plan.
Yeah.
What do you,
Yeah, right?
what plan? And
You
he
have
says
my
to me, he says, I am going to break into this thing through Latin music. He says, and then I'm going to become a crossover artist.
Huh.
He says, I'm going to sing in Spanish, since it's something that I love to do. His whole family was musical. His brother played the piano so beautifully. And now his brother's a writer. But he was just like, listen, I'm gonna sing Latin music and I'm gonna become a crossover artist and I'm going to make it big here in America. And I said, you know what? You have my blessing. Have fun. Enjoy. And he did. And he was on the soundtrack for Encanto.
Whoa.
And I was just like, this kid taught me lessons just by saying, like, this is what I want. And a lot of the kids at that school were like that. They were like, I have a big dream and I want things and I'm going to go for it. And nothing stopped them. And I liked seeing that because, yes, I had that I won't go away thought process.
Right.
But,
Right.
but it was very nice to see that in a younger generation. It was because as we get older, we get jaded.
Mm-hmm.
We got jaded. And seeing it in the young ones that decide, I'm not letting go, it reminded me that what I accomplish is limited by what I dream.
Such a great thing. And I love the way you turned around. I'm not going to name drop, but turned it into something positive, which was very cool. But yeah, I really appreciate where you're coming from with that because I've been teaching filmmaking for like 20 years now. Yeah. And when I started doing this, I was like, you've got to try this, boom, boom, boom. And after 20 years of doing this, I know how the industry can just eat people up and spit them out.
Yes.
And I've had to really kind of catch myself and make sure that I'm not projecting that
Yeah.
because their lives, you go for it. And you don't
Absolutely.
have to get chewed up and
No,
spat
you
out.
don't have to.
It doesn't have to play out that way.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. All right, one down. You did well on that one.
Thank you.
Okay, now this slow pitch over center plate. Dominique
Rachi.
Rachi.
Dominique sent in a question.
Dominique Rachi asks, what do you enjoy most about teaching? It's either a very easy or a very hard
Oh,
question.
their aha moments. The aha moments. You could say the same thing 10,000 times and it doesn't sink in. The day it sinks in, amazing. The way their eyes light up. When I used to look at them and say, okay, so and so and so and so, you were not allowed to stand next to each other. There's something about your vibratos that clash. And I was like, I know you can't hear it yet. One day you will hear it. And one day we were singing and they stood there and they were like, oh, what was that? And I was like, that was you standing next to the wrong person. And they switched. And the way the chord clicked when they weren't next to each other, they were like, stop it. And I said, I told you. I told you. And so we have people in our class that we call peanut butter and people that we call jelly and some people we call bread. And we don't put bread next to each other. You don't make a sandwich bread on bread.
Gotcha.
We need our peanut butters and jellies in the middle. And so there are different people that are like, hey, you're peanut butter. I need you here.
That's beautiful. Metaphors. English teacher just gave you an A+.
Thank you.
That's great. So we have one more question.
Sure.
Fernando Garcia Padron,
Ooh, Fernando, yes.
can we get an update on New York?
Oh, dear. Okay, so our students are going to be performing at Carnegie Hall on April 6th. They're
Carnegie Hall. Coral Springs High at Carnegie Hall, please. Yes, go ahead. I'm sorry.
where I thought that it was time. They'd worked so hard, and I have such phenomenal seniors. I wanted them to audition for this opportunity and give them the chance to be able to do this. So on April 6th, we're going to be premiering a work titled Echo by a new composer, Tracy Wong, and they've learned it already. We get to send in some preliminary videos on Friday. We get to record some of our rehearsals and send them in so that our concert production company can make sure that we're staying on track with learning all of our pieces, because there are 4 other pieces we're going to be learning as well. And they are doing a phenomenal job. In light of all the things that we're doing, I'm impressed. I'll say that.
With all the stuff on your plate, that's...
Yes.
Yeah.
Because they were preparing for all state, all county, a lot of them for Shrek the Musical.
Yeah.
For our solo and ensemble, district solo and ensemble, where they competed as soloists, and now our choral music performance assessments are next week.
Okay.
And we're doing all of this while we're getting ready for New York. So it's a lot of music.
No downtime here.
No, there's no downtime. There's no downtime.
All right, Fernando, that's your update on New York. So I want to wrap it up with something you said when we were talking the very first time we were talking about the podcast.
Yes.
And I told you I was going to write it down, and it's an exact quote.
Okay.
And it's, I don't think you understand the level of healing that takes place in this room.
Yes.
Do you want to comment on that any further, or do you feel like that says it all?
Healing. I tell people that there are more tears shed in my class than in any other room in the school. Not because I visited all the other rooms, because I can't imagine anybody crying that much anywhere else.
That's fair.
Singing, besides making beautiful music, singing leaves you very vulnerable. This isn't an instrument you purchased at Sam Ash. You can't blame the manufacturer. You can't claim you need a new reed. You can't replace the cork. You were born with this. This is your instrument. And when people don't like your performance, oftentimes we say to ourselves, they don't like me. We make it very personal. And so it takes a lot to become vulnerable and expose yourself in a room full of other people that, some of them sing a lot better than you do, right? You have to open up to me and then open up to everyone else in the room. And oftentimes the bonds that are created in that room are just, they're unbreakable. These people are talking to each other like years after they've graduated school here. That's number one. Number two, when tragedy strikes, whenever anything happens, it's just absolutely earth-shattering for them. It may not be earth-shattering to me because I am looking at it from the other side. Maybe it's something I experienced 20 years ago that I understand, hey, listen, I'm going to be okay. I know that you're going to be okay as well. They may not know that yet. We sometimes have days where people walk in and they are in tears and they need a hug. And some of them will just huddle in a group and there will be a group hug. Wow. And then they will sing. And they won't even talk about it. Sometimes they'll just say, we'll sing. And each and every single time, the way we've responded to a lot of our trauma or a lot of our issues would be, we'll cry freely in here. We will sing. We'll wipe away our tears. And off we go to our next class.
Well, that's just lyric. That's beautiful. And doesn't that kind of get back to what you were talking about? One of the reasons why you like the film is because it's about how tragic it is to take this away.
Yes.
And I think it's important to have these conversations so that people realize when you're taking this away, you're taking away so much more.
A lot. You're taking away so much more than you think you are. And it's not until recently that we really wanted to separate the arts and the sciences, because the reality of it is many of the most famous artists in the world were scientists, right? We don't see them as separate entities. It's just something that's innately part of us, that it's part of what makes us human. Being able to create this kind of music and to be able to share it with others is such an experience that's unique to us. I think that my kids would not be the same people if they didn't have music.
Yeah.
And I think in my email, I have like a quote at the bottom, and I can't say it verbatim, but I think the quote is something like, it's not just amazing that kids can make beautiful music. It's absolutely phenomenal that music can make beautiful children. Make beautiful babies.
I'm going to shut up right there. I can't add anything else to that. I'm the fact that you create that atmosphere is amazing, and it's definitely amazing that you took the time to talk about it with us today.
Thank you for inviting me.
No problem. I have to thank some other people here really quick, so I've got to do my acknowledgments. This has been Pulled Up, a co-production of the Coral Springs High School ACE Media Studies program and the Coral Springs High School TV production program. Special thanks to Mr. Place for giving us the digs here and doing all the amazing work he's doing on the other end of things. I'd like to thank in particular Dr. King for her sage wisdom and support as I was developing the podcast. And get to have these fantastic conversations. Many thanks to retired Principal Vivian Suarez for greenlighting this to begin with, and new Principal Mr. Dwayne Dixon for giving us the green light once again, which is great. Podcast logo was designed by ACE Media Studies students Brendan Kenny and Vanessa Ramschall, and I'd like to most of all thank the faculty, staff, and administration of Coral Springs High School for pulling up the students every day. This is Russell Aronson saying goodbye, and remember, no matter where you go, there you are. Until next time.
Pull me up,